Good evening, everyone. It is my extreme pleasure to be here this evening. I want to thank, first of all, Viva Learning for hosting this webinar. And I also, of course, want to thank Align for being the sponsor tonight. My name is Peggy Bown, and I am a dentist on the East Coast of Canada in St. John, New Brunswick. And it is my true pleasure to speak to you about digital workflows in the modern practice. And I believe that in order to be truly modern, we need to be digital. And in order to be digital, we need to utilize intraoral imaging systems to their full capacity. So it was with absolute excitement and pleasure that, again, I'm just very grateful to be able to share with you what I do in my clinic and maybe inspire you or help you with any digital workflow issues that you might be having in your own clinic. So before I get started, I do want to make very clear that although I do speak for Align, I am speaking on behalf of my own views and opinions, and everything you're going to see tonight is things that I do in my own clinic. And so, again, I've been using digital imaging systems for over 10 years, and it's just really a pleasure to be able to, again, share with you what I've done in the past 10 years and just what type of workflows and things that I do. So again, thank you for listening, and we'll get started. Oh, and before I continue, I want to mention that if anyone's like to get in touch with me after the webinar, you can certainly do so with the in the ways you see here. And I'm on all social media platforms, and I recently started a podcast called The Truth About Dentistry, so feel free to check that out. Okay, so the learning objectives for tonight, of course, are first of all, we're going to discover the possibilities of digital technology in a clinical setting. The clinical setting being, of course, my practice and what we've done here in our clinic. And I want to also talk about the how you can appreciate some of the benefits that a digital practice can have in relation to the patient experience. And thirdly, we're going to explore both productivity and profitability of just having a digital practice and what that means and what that's done for me as well in my clinic. So right now we are a digital smile design clinic. I have 4 intraoral scanners. Of course, these are the intraoral imaging systems. And I'm also a platinum provider of Invisalign. So I am using, you're going to see in this webinar, me talking about the iTero Element in particular, although again, there are other imaging systems out there. But I do want to say, what does it mean, or let's ask the question, I guess, what does it mean to be end-to-end digital? And it's funny. A year ago, when this COVID hit and we were all shut down, if you had asked me back in February of 2020, do you have a digital practice? I would have said, of course I have a digital practice. But what I realized when we went through all of this past year is that, there were a lot of things that I still needed to do. And, the point here is that in order to integrate digital fully into your practice and be truly modern, it really takes a lot of work. And so what I'm, not saying that any of this is easy, but with, dedication to, teach your team and care about truly thinking about how you are perceived and how you're performing on a digital level, it really pays off, and again, it makes you that modern practice. So to be a digital practice means having digital systems integrated into every aspect of the patient experience. And that means, when I look at, I thought about all the different things that my patients experience or interact with on a daily basis, and these are just some of them. So I'm just putting them there as an example of, having a digital practice means multiple different platforms and different softwares in order to really integrate that, and that affects the patient experience. So it's really allowing me to be more complete and perform in a way that makes it seamless and appear easy for the patient. But why do I love digital? So, really it boils down to one thing. It boils down to the fact that I'm very passionate about the patient experience. I believe that ultimately we as dentists need to, impact the patients in how they perceive us. And, it's just one of those things that I feel that with utilizing intraoral scanning technology, we're able to, give our patients a better experience. And a little story about when I was a child, a dentist took the time to provide for me, took the time to give me a better experience, in that he took the time to explain things to me and educate me. And education is the centerpiece and one of the most starting points for using our intraoral scanners. And so my clinic today has been sort of fulfilled and come to fruition to allow me to, create that same type of wow moment for my patients. And I try to do that on a daily basis, but I also know that it empowers my team and gives them something very special. So as a digital smile design clinic, and a clinic that we are platinum providers of Invisalign, we try to go all out, and we use the scanners in many different aspects, which I'm going to be talking about tonight. Now, we all know that we couldn't do anything without our team. And so this is my team, the latest photo of my team. You know what it's like, you're always trying to keep that updated. But my team, we took this team photo and I said, guys, look, you are my greatest asset. I want to make sure you're part of this presentation. But we also know that as far as any other great asset that we have in our clinic, mine is my iTero element. So I have 4 scanners, but 2 5Ds. And I said, we have to put the scanner into this presentation, because it's one of those things that, I really now, the way our practice operates, we could not practice without our iTero element. And so I want to start with, I guess, some reasons. If you haven't already considered, or you're thinking of reasons why you should adopt an intraoral imaging system into your clinic, it would be for these top reasons. And there's so many more, but I want to kind of go through them. The first one is seeing is believing. And our patients are absolutely going to buy in much better, much faster when they can truly see the problems in their mouth. And there's numerous studies that when people see something, they're more likely to believe it, and they're more likely to make a buying decision. So you have to think about, what are you showing your patients, and are you just talking in vague terms, or are you going to be able to show them something that's really truly impactful and something they've never seen before. So it's pretty amazing for them when they first see it. The second reason is that full of mouse digitalization actually saves time. A lot of us don't realize that. We think, oh wow, taking a scan is going to take more time. How can I give my hygienist, or what's it going to take? I'm so fast already at impressions, I don't need it. But it truly saves so much time. And throughout the presentation, I hope you will see why I say that. But trust me when I say this, that you're going to save tons of time, and you're going to have documentation and records that you've never had before, and it's going to make your practice so much more efficient, which is of course going to save you time. And the third reason is that it creates treatment discussions that simply just happen. The patient sees the problem, you're showing them, you're just showing them around their mouth, and they're like, oh wow, I didn't realize that. And you can show them different things. Again, I'm going to show you how I use these tools, but the patients are then asking, well, what can we do? What is the treatment you're going to do for me? And so it opens up and allows me to have a much easier time talking about the treatment than I ever would have. A lot of us are uncomfortable sometimes. We feel we're being pushy with patients, but the patients start demanding the treatment, and because they're co-diagnosing the problems with you. I think the fourth reason is probably also extremely important, and I'm going to go out on a limb here saying that dental clinics providing routine digitalization of their patients will actually have a competitive, or do already have a competitive edge over those that don't. So if you're trying to build your practice, provide, draw more types of patients to your clinic that you want, the patients that your type of patients you're probably going to want are going to be demanding digital, and they're going to be demanding technology that allows them to get the treatment in an easy, more comfortable way, because you're going to promote it that way. So I ultimately feel that you're going to be able to attract more patients that you want. Some of these are my real patients, of course, and they've given me permission to show you their smiles, but they are, they're my great, then they go around and they tell everyone how amazing their experience was. And a lot of it was not just my team is incredible, but it's because we made it so easy for them. And because of the digital and because of the way we educated them, they committed to treatment from an early standpoint. So how does being a digital practice increase profitability? Well, first of all, the education that it provides is worth talking about. I encourage my patients to take images of with their phone, with their, take a picture of that, show it to your friends or your family. This isn't great. Everything you do inside your practice is internal marketing. Doesn't matter if it's a good impression or a bad impression, it's internal marketing. And the external marketing can also be used for that. I'm going to show you how I use that in my clinic as well. But the ways that the scanner helps you is with creating, this education opens their eyes. No one's ever explained things to them this way before. So that's great for marketing, and that's going to help boost more patients to your clinic. It's also going to increase your treatment acceptance. I never would be creating the case acceptance that I have today without it. In fact, each time I've bought another scanner, just for the sake of telling you the truth about this, I have gone up in the number of Invisalign cases I've done, for example, and I know that for a fact because Invisalign tracks how many cases you do every 6 months. So with each scanner that you buy, and again, I'm not suggesting you have to have multiple scanners like me, but it certainly helps. And the more you have, the more you and your team can embrace this technology and do something with it that allows your practice to just go to a new height. It also increases profitability because there's less manual documenting and there's less potential loss of information. How many times years ago did we lose x-rays, or did we lose, some sort of documents that now we have everything by the touch of, a button. We can go to any computer anytime and look up that patient's entire mouth records. And so, like I said, the records are much more, they're more accessible, and they're quicker to document, but they're also more comprehensive. I've never had this much information on a patient from one scan. So it's just so crazy. I confidently also will charge now, and this was hard for me at first, but I charge higher fees because I believe I'm also providing a higher quality of care. So I am not the cheapest dentist in town, and that's okay. And I'm not everybody's dentist, but I'm certainly the dentist for the patients that value the technology and the modern care that we provide. And that comes around again when we have our patients who are both talking about our clinic because of what they've experienced when they were there. But the absolute, this really ultimately comes down to time being money. So we're saving ourselves time in so many ways that we're really going to save a lot of money. And it's hard to put a value on that specifically, but what I know is that my practice profits go up every year with each new scanner that I buy. So, it's really, really impressive. So I want to talk now about just a complete end-to-end digital practice. So the first step to an end-to-end digital practice is finding your ideal patients. How many of you, if I could see you now, how many of you would raise your hand if I said, think of your ideal patient, and could you snap your fingers tomorrow, and would you like to see only that type of patient come into your clinic? Most of us would, right? So in order to help us find those ideal patients, we have to learn how to present ourselves online, and we have to think about how patients are looking for us or how they're finding us, and that is through digital marketing. And so the bottom line is, your patients, you got to remember, we're healthcare providers, of course, but our patients are just looking at us as a commodity. They're consumers, and we are business, and we have to remember that even though it doesn't feel comfortable always, we have to remember that we need to get into digital marketing, and that is really the first step for marketing a digital practice and being successful. And it also allows us to set us apart from other clinics and that are not using digital. And that differentiation, talking about our technology like our intraoral scanner and our imaging systems in our clinic is going to set us apart and be very valuable. So that is going to lead to very successful marketing. And make sure, however, that marketing is coming across in your in what you're putting out there. I just wanted to show this again. This is not a marketing lecture, but I want to drive home the point that it's so important. If you look at the history of popularity of Google searches for dentists from 2004 to present, see a drastic increase around 2014. And each month I get a report from Google saying, this is your statistics on how your marketing's doing for this month. Again, my website is linked to Google and all that, but it told me that for February that 3,500 people found me on Google. So, think about it. I must be doing, maybe I'm doing something right. It seems that way. And if I have not been focusing on that month, I could have potentially missed out on 3,500 people, not finding my practice or not being able to find me. So it's extremely important that, you're going to put all this time and money into training your team on the digital. You're going to buy the digital technology. But if no one knows that you're digital or why you're different, then it's going to be, a bit of a loss. So learn how to market your practice, your digital practice, and call it your digital practice. Use language, talk about it and say, we have this technology, or did you know that this is what we do here? A lot of times patients come in and out and they don't always get to experience the full thing. So you've got to really get your team to be openly talking about some of the cool things and the cool stories that you're doing in your clinic. So external marketing, if I haven't made the point, is super key, and it's allowed me to take my teledentistry and my virtual appointments, virtual consults, to a whole new level, and that has just been so rewarding. And so, optimizing your social media, not just being on social media. Yes, I have an Instagram page, or yes, we have a Facebook page, but are you optimizing it? And there's all kinds of ways and things you should be doing to you can get help too. Like, don't be shy to hire someone if you need help, but try to do a little bit of that, because it's going to help you kind of get the return on your investment. And so being modern means being accessible online. So congratulations, they've now booked an appointment, but what now? Where was that part of what I was missing with the patient appointments? So I was really doing everything, once they had found me online, they were just calling my reception. Now we do a lot of things differently, and again, I'm not going to get all into that, but the point here is that it needs to be a smooth experience for them. You're going to be modern, you're going to be digital. You also want to think about the experience for them. So when my patients now are getting booked, they're getting sent certain treatment forms. It could be medical dental history form. It could be informed consent for a special treatment. It could be a treatment proposal. So this meant that my admin team needed special training as well, but it's really made a massive difference. So again, it's not the lecture for this, but I just wanted to drive home the point that if you can, once you get to that next, get into using the digital, you can really start to show off how digital your practice really is. So the new patient experience, that is the first point, I guess. Usually if a patient comes in as a new patient, I want to always make sure that the scan is done first. We're going to wow those patients with the technology and really show them something. I walk into the room and I say, hey, welcome to our clinic. And they're like, have you ever seen anything like this before? And they go, no, I haven't. This is amazing. And I really start to talk to them with the scan in front of them. I don't just lay them back and start looking in their mouth. I try to get to know them. We do a little bit of social talk, and then we use the scan to point out and illustrate things that may be bothering them and connect the dots for them and help the scanner tell the story. And so educating with fewer words is taking me less time. I've got the patient really engaged, and it's helping me develop trust and show how much that I care. And so, right from the moment I walk into my team, when my team's spending time with them, we're motivating our patients and we're helping them create ownership for their own oral conditions. So I believe it's so valuable. So the key component, you can imagine, of my patient experience is not to take x-rays and do a cleaning. It's to get them involved and help them take ownership in the with the intraoral imaging systems that we use. And in our clinic, like I say, we use the iTero Element. Now I've tried other scanners, and I've really now committed to the iTero Element, particularly because of the tools that I'm going to show you and some of the things that we do. So I want to talk about that now. So the iTero Element has 4 main tools. And those tools are, I'm just going to list them. First is time lapse. Again, it's sort of a video over time that we can show our patients. An Invisalign outcome simulator. It's not always that you have to be doing Invisalign with it, but it shows you before and after of what the teeth would look like with a better bite, more aligned. And then there's what's called the occlusogram, and that's showing them the bite. And the final one, the most amazing, of course, that I've seen in many years as well, is the NIRI, which is the near infrared imaging technology. And I'm going to just show you about each one now and kind of what we do here. So when we have, the last 3 years, we've been doing time lapse on our patients. So we take a scan every 6 months to a year, depending on the patient's needs. And really, we're starting to show amazing differences with the patients are seeing with their teeth over time. So sometimes it's good, sometimes things things are getting better, but sometimes things are getting worse. And it's really, the patients become a believer. They're not like questioning whether or not you're just trying to sell them on doing, you know, special treatment. And these visuals of recession and wear, and you can see in the lower image here, you can see the recession, you know, getting worse.
Accessibility shortcuts, 13 item.
Sorry, I had an interruption there. So see the recession getting worse over time, then we're really seeing more of engagement of the patient. You know, if you do want to recommend that they have a, you know, grafting or something like that, you can really convince them, I guess, without trying to, you know, make it seem like you're selling to them. The second one is the occlusogram. And now the occlusogram, you know, the patient never has ever been able to understand what we're talking about when we're talking about bites. We have basically like almost like a weather map. If you think about a weather map with the red in the center, you know, the worst areas, it's okay to have red, but it's not okay to have, you know, red areas in the very front teeth or in some places. So sometimes there's an uneven distribution. And so we can quickly and easily show patients that their bite is either good, bad. We can, you know, we can see it as it's erupting. And so it's, again, just a great tool to convince patients to consider how their bite contributes to some of the other problems that they're having. The outcome simulator. Wow, I love this one because, again, it's really fun to watch for patients to see their teeth kind of being moved in this way. And it allows me to show them that I'm going to do something special. Like, I'm still the doctor. I'm going to probably move things around. So it allows me to adjust the outcome simulator, but also I can address any specific concerns that they have. And again, show them what's possible. That's so key. The fourth one is the NIRI. Now, again, you see here, if any of you have already had a chance to see this, it's absolutely incredible. We are being able to detect and monitor interproximal caries, especially in children and, you know, someone we can't take x-rays on, but also just being able to monitor that and not have to take radiographs as often. It's also sparking a conversation for, you know, oral hygiene and understanding of caries in kids. And one of the things I want to show here is how some of our children in our practice are really also enjoying the scan and how it's allowing us to, again, just get them really super involved. This is the little girl here in the center. You'll see her interacting with the scan, and she is one of our very special patients, and that's why I put her in this presentation, because she really wants, she says she wants to be a dentist when she grows up. So I don't know where that came from, but she is just an amazing, incredible girl. But, you know, just like any kid, look at the other little boy here. He's absolutely engaged in his mouth, and he's normally a very fearful little boy. So I'll show you what she says here.
Whoa, that was too fast. Wait, Tooth, stop going so fast, please.
So, you know, so this is, you can see the difference in the higher level of engagement that you're going to have with your patients in the clinic. So what I do then is, what we'll do is we'll put all the tools together. So we'll make the case. A patient comes in, maybe they're unhappy with their smile, they have fracture lines, they don't understand why this is occurring. So we'll actually complete the story for them using the occlusogram, using, you know, all the different tools to, you know, back up what we're saying, what we're seeing, and use everything from the NIRI to the occlusogram to the outcome simulator. So that's something that we do very regularly. Now, another thing I want to show you with this case, another case is recently that my hygienist did, and what he's doing is he's using this screenshot tool on the NIRI, or sorry, on the scanner, where he can actually screenshot an image, and then the scanner allows him to make a line and draw on the scan, and then he can put in heavy plaque and tartar bleeding, severe gingivitis, whatever. Then he did an intraoral photo, you can see down here. I know it's disgusting, sorry about that. I just wanted to show you that he put all this together. So he sent this screenshots to the mom, he backed it up with more images taken with the camera, intraoral camera, and then the mom emailed back right away, and she said, wow, because she couldn't come in. We don't always have parents coming into every appointment because of COVID. So she said, you know, wow, thank you so much for taking the time to update me and care for Sam's oral health. Imagine the impact. Imagine, you know, would she ever go anywhere else? I mean, we are going above and beyond, and we're using the technology to make her understand in a way there's no way we would have time to take all the photos, and nor does it even show in a way that we would be able to do this way. So I think it looks very professional. It's very, very quick and easy, and my hygienist said, you know, it just took no time at all to do that. And so very quickly, imagine the word of mouth, what she would tell her friends, you know, what we do at our clinic. It just helps improve the clinic's reputation. So I want to talk about 3 ways in which I integrate the imaging system into my practice. The first way is, as you can already imagine, with a dental hygienist, and they are the entry point usually for the new patient experience. Allows me to build trust and be more educational than ever. We're using all the tools, just like I said, and we're calling these scans oral health scans. They're being taken regularly, and yes, we are charging for them a small fee so that the patient understands, it's an appreciative thing, but they are really, no one's having an issue with it, and they're really appreciating all the information that we're giving them. And what you have to remember, though, is if the hygienists are doing this, they must know how to talk about solutions to problems such as providing what Invisalign clear aligner therapy can do for them. This is my hygienist and I. When we were first reopening, we did a lot of this when I couldn't, and I was in PPE, a much more strict situation than it is right now. But we were trying to minimize the number of patients in and out, and we were doing some of our exams using the intraoral scans that we were taking by doing what we called a virtual exam. Our patients were very fine with it, and it was, again, a way that I could safely and comfortably go in and look at the patients after the fact. And I thought to myself, I'm like, we're actually being more thorough probably even than we would have been in a regular exam. So I think, again, it just proves the point that you can do so much with these scanners, even if the patient's not even in the room. So it's just wonderful. So the second way is with dental assistants and with impressions. And I mean, it's time to get rid of goopy impressions. Patients don't like it. It does not enhance the patient experience. And it's time for us, again, you can go all digital. We rarely take alginates or PVS, rare, for anything. So we use all of our impressions for everything from our treatment planning to our restorative with our labs, of course, to our ortho treatment, our Invisalign treatment. And we're even doing a lot of 3D printing now. So we're printing directly from our scanner to our 3D printer. Now, when it comes to treatment planning, this is a whole new level for me too, because I can, from any computer at any time, I can actually, not just have the digital charts and DSLR photos that I would have had. I can go into myotero.com and access the patient's file, and it allows me to also treatment plan when I'm doing Invisalign, anything like that. I'm also using something known as Slack. Now, Slack means Searchable Log of All Communication and Knowledge. It's an acronym for, Slack doesn't sound like the greatest name, but it's certainly incredible way to message, and I'll show you that in a second why we do that. And then, of course, the treatment planning continues as we send that information to our lab or to Digital Smile Design. So this is Slack, and we use it now. I even have it connected to my watch, my phone. My hygienists are letting me know when they're ready for a recare. They don't have to leave the room. We're doing all kinds of things with it. For the sake of this lecture, I've decided, there's no patient names here, but we have different channels. So we have a channel for lab, for referrals. We specifically can also direct message different people on the team. And if there's something we're doing like with a special patient, so we're calling the ex-patient Suzanne, and we're saying, yes, she's ready for the planning center design, please proceed. So we're able to have very synchronous communication between the, all of the people in the clinic just by using this. So once I've done my treatment planning with my itero.com or my, any of my photos and things, I'll leave a message in Slack. So then it comes to the final impressions. What are we doing with that for Prosto, for Invisalign, for everything? Patients, I did a virtual consult tonight, and it said that the patient was worried about the impressions breaking off one of her teeth. And I said, oh, don't worry, we do digital here. And she was very relieved. So I think things like that and answering those kinds of questions go a long way. This is images of my assistant. We're just, again, like I said, we 3D print directly from the scanner. It goes to a file which my assistant will then set up and put to my 3D printer. So all of our models are 3D printed. We don't use stone models rarely ever anymore. This is me doing restorative. I wanted to show you, this is a video that I made earlier for another application, and I wanted to explain in here what the possibilities were and the accuracy that we could have with doing a full mouth rehabilitation. So I want you to have a listen. So this is a case that we did a few years ago now, but it has always stood out in my mind as a total game changer. I would not have been able to perform the dentistry that I did that day without the scanner, especially because the patient was really nervous and she had a lot of anxiety as it was. Even on Ativan, she was fairly nervous. And what we needed to get was we needed to get a full arch of impression. So I prepped her, both her upper arch for crowns and also her lower arch, veneers on the lower anterior teeth, and you can see 3 implants on the lower, and then there was I believe 6 implants on the upper, along with all the natural tooth forms. And we have images. I did a video of her being scanned that day, and honestly, she was completely relaxed. Like her hands were, you know, by her side or on her chest, I can't remember, but she just wasn't nervous, and we got the accuracy that we wanted. In fact, this case was a bit notorious because it was a digital smile design case that we had planned, and we had promised the patient this, and we needed to prep her and put her in temporary crowns and temporary implants all together. So everything was able to be prefabricated because of the information that we had collected from the scan. And it was incredible because each unit in this entire mouth, including her bite, there was hardly any bite adjustments that happened, and she got the smile that we had promised her right from the beginning, right from the temporary, the point of temporaries. And it was so incredible. So we let her, in the temporaries for, I think it was about 3 or 4 weeks. After everything was fine, she had no issues, then we converted her into the final prosthetics. But guess what? We did not need to do a new scan because there were no changes. So we didn't have to put her through a second scan. We were able to perform a scan completely, in a relaxed way. The patient experience was incredible, and we were able to get everything on one day. And that saved me a lot of time, money, and stress, as well as my team. So for that reason, this case especially is a perfect example of what you can do when you're using these imaging systems to capture, with the implants and hard tissue together. There, I hope that, again, you could hear that okay, but it just drives home the point. If you're doing full mouth rehabilitation or if you're doing a lot of implants, it's going to save you a lot of time and stress. So, working with my lab, faster turnaround, there's no model sitting at the lab bench, for days or any time at all, because it has to be sent off immediately. And within minutes, my lab has it. And again, with the accuracy that I have, I would not be able to do anything different. So I also, of course, as I mentioned, we're platinum providers of Invisalign. I could not imagine or worry about Invisalign, doing Invisalign without using my scanner for sure. The impressions are extremely complete. I now want to also mention how I have done what I would consider the complete digital workflow, from intraoral scan to printed design to digitally guided Invisalign to then the promised smile. This is an example of a case that we did, a teenager that came to us, and I'll show you the video right now, but this was her final smile after Invisalign and after some bonding. So I'll let you have a watch for that. just one of the ways that we use. Again, we try to do things we do in our clinic. We want to market them. We want people to know it's there. So you do have to kind of sometimes make sure you're presenting yourself in a way that you're showing some of the things that you're doing. And like I said, if you're not familiar with digital smile design, it's just an incredible thing that we've adopted in our clinic and allows me to use the complete digital workflow. Now there's other cool ways that we use the scanner. The first is to help us design, scan, and print our 3D dentures. So that's a whole nother conversation. We're just getting into doing that with DSD, but it's been a real game changer. And I've not always loved doing dentures, but to make them 3D printed and look this good and look this natural for the smile that we promise the patient has just been incredible for me and my team. Another thing that we've allowed us to do, and in fact, when you think about it, by having the scanner and the 3D printer together, we've been able to do other things as well, like this flowable injection technique. And we're able to make options for patients that are both, long-term and short-term. And so this is sort of more of a short-term kind of solution, but it has really been so cool. And I mean, these are the kinds of cool stories, and these are the kinds of things that we can provide because we've adopted the technology. And if I would be remiss if I didn't bring up this cool story. I want to tell you about this. So this is a Save the Day application of you having the digital in your practice, where we had a young man come to us in September of 2019. He came in and he was digitalized just like anybody would be with their new patient exam. And we took his scan, and you can see the scan here in the center in the top. And then his mom called in December, a few days before Christmas, and said that he had been in a terrible accident, and she was just a mess. And within hours we were able to print his original teeth and make him an Essex that could he could have teeth for Christmas. So, it's amazing some of the things you're going to be able to do in your clinic when you have this type of technology, that you can actually save the day and tell really cool stories about how you can improve things. So the third way, of course, is the consultations. The third way I integrate things into my clinic. And I'm going to go through these rather quickly. I don't want to, keep anyone too long, but the point is that there's really 4 types of ways we can have consults in our clinic. The first is, of course, an Invisalign consult if you're doing Invisalign. A second would be a general aesthetic or functional consult. The third would be a regular hygiene therapy patient that's already coming in for, routine care. And the fourth would be the new patient experience appointment. So with the Invisalign consult, how I use the scanner for these consults is I make sure I use the Illustrate the Chief Complaints with the basic 3D image and the iTero tools. I'll use some of them. But one of the coolest things I do with it is that I am able to address and predict the need for repairs or challenges that occur in tooth shape and size by using the outcome simulator. So it's just allowed me to really manage the patient's expectations and help them see some of the other problems that Invisalign alone would not be able to solve. So we're really just showing them what's possible, and then treatment planning much more thoroughly at the beginning of appointment than we would if we didn't have the scan. So the second scenario is the patient is just coming in for general aesthetic. They don't know what they want. They just want a nicer smile, or maybe they want more function. So again, similarly, we're going to do DSLR photos. We're going to do some x-rays. In this case, I am always going to do DSD records, and I'm going to make sure I use the iTero scan to get a whole picture of the function and aesthetics. And the scanner tools with the DSLR photos makes a huge impact in helping them show, what's possible. But we'll also, in this clinic, of course, we'll do the option to do a DSD mock-up for them. And then, just so I can show you how I use the Slack, once a patient's accepted treatment or they're becoming a patient, we create a WhatsApp channel for them. So they have a team of a couple of people on my team, or their concierge, so they'll actually message them and send them all their information through some of their before and afters or potential mock-up pictures in a WhatsApp, and then we Slack each other in order they have a channel in Slack so that we can actually message each other about any changes or updates that are occurring with their case. The third scenario is that a regular hygiene patient is coming in, and we have already trust with these patients. So how are we going to discuss this? Well, we just need to make sure our hygienists feel comfortable using all the scanner tools to identify and explain the problems. And a lot of that work can be done before we come into the room. But we're also using NIRI, the occlusogram, and the time lapse to engage the patient. And so we're just building on the trust that we have, and often we can help. They trust us, so they're going to kind of, want to do anything that we suggest at that point. The fourth way is the new patient experience appointment. And I want to really maximize the technology, and I want to really wow them. Of course, as I said earlier, we do with the intraoral scan, we do it at the beginning of the appointment, and that we use all the tools, but we let them really engage with the scan. And I come in, I'm like, oh, have you ever seen this before? But again, it comes down to, I say this many times, like, let the scanner tell the story. Let the patient guide you in what they see and what they're concerned with, and make sure you kind of focus in on that, and you're listening and you're using the scanner to show them what's possible and show them why things are happening in their mouth. So if there's anything that I can say here, the center of all of this is that with one file we have really truly unlimited possibilities. When you think about all the things I can do in my clinic, there is no way I would come to work tomorrow. I've said it jokingly many times over the years. I'm like, there's no way I would come to work. If you told me I didn't have my intraoral scanner, I was just like, just close the clinic for the day. We can't do without it. And certainly helps to have more than one scanner, because then you've got multiple people. Just the easier something is, the more accessible it is for your team, the more likely they're going to use it. And on top of that, it really has made a huge difference in my profitability and in my production. So just can't imagine what I would do it. So I just feel that in order to be truly efficient in your clinic, you need to be digital. And the center of all of that, of course, is having an intraoral imaging system. So these are my take-home messages. The first, of course, is to invest in an intraoral imaging system. And it may seem like a lot. I've had a lot of doctors say, well, it's a lot of money. But when I hope in some way I've inspired you today to think about how you could maximize it and you're going to get a major return on your investment. And even I've joked as well that, think about all the marketing the marketing potential with it. So if you have a marketing budget, think about putting some of your marketing budget into your intraoral imaging system. And secondly, differentiate yourself with digital. Show why you're different. Make sure that the stories and the things that your team are saying and your patients are saying sets you apart and allows people to make a decision for themselves that you're the right dentist for them. And you do have to remember, though, it's going to take time to invest in team training. You want to incorporate technology, yes, but you don't want your team to be frustrated. So it does take some investment in that, but it's so well worth it, and it's very empowering. Like, the team is excited because they get to show and talk to the patients in a way that they never could before as well. And then the digital makes the patient experience. For me, my why is to change public perceptions of dentistry. When I was a little girl, I wanted to help recreate that feeling that I felt as a little girl. And these scanners are doing that. Every time I get to engage and show a patient, I'm making the patient experience so much better. And so again, it's going to make a difference for you just as much as it is me in my clinic. Anyone can do this if they have the right tools. And just remember, if I haven't already driven this home, that one scan, look at all the possibilities, all the things we can do, from just basic, just general record taking to all the way to our treatment and full mouth rehabilitations. There's just no end to what we can do with the scan. And again, if you're digitalizing your smiles, you are going to transform your practice, and you're going to save the day. You're going to do all kinds of things that never you've done before, and again, grow your practice and take it to a whole new level. So I want to thank you, everyone. We're going to have a few minutes for questions. If you would like to, again, reach out to me at any time, you can reach me on my Instagram, my LinkedIn, or again, take a listen to my podcast and let me know what you think. Okay, so we're going to have a few questions now. I see the questions coming up here. Okay, amazing. So the first question that I see Does insurance cover the cost of scans, and what is my charge? That's a really great question, and we struggled with that. And at the beginning, isn't it? Yeah. So we don't have, there's no insurance company that covers it necessarily, but it's an investment that our patients are committed, and we do tell them up front. We only charge $25 for a scan. It's not a lot, I don't feel, but it's certainly a cost that the patients are more than willing to pay. So the next question is, do you scan patients once a year at their recare appointment, or is it by case decision? So that's a great question as well. We scan patients at least once a year. So sometimes it's more often if we're trying to monitor something very closely, or we're questioning something. But so it can be case by case decision. Yeah, okay. But it also is done no matter what, usually annually. And like I said, the patients have no problem, paying for that. So what does SLAC stand for? Well, SLAC stands for Searchable Log of All Communication and Knowledge, and that's to my knowledge. It's a long acronym, but it really makes a huge difference. And if you have more questions about that, we're going to be giving some courses in that at some point. So definitely let me know if you'd like to know more. I currently have the iTero Element 2. What disadvantages do I have versus the 5D? Really, it's not a disadvantage, but the only advantage, the main advantage you have, I guess, by having the 5D, the first biggest advantage is that you have NIRI. So you would have near infrared imaging, and you can actually upgrade your Element 2 to be 5D, so it's a less of a cost for you. And the 5D also, I believe, is a little bit faster. So again, don't totally quote me on that, but I believe that it is. Okay, next question. What kind of 3D printer do you use to print your models, and that are compatible with iTero? There are many printers out there that are compatible with iTero. In fact, I looked at many different ones. I didn't want to spend a lot, and I kind of wanted something that I knew a few of my other colleagues were using. So I use the Formlabs. I have the Formlabs 2. There's a Formlabs 3 out there. It's really not that expensive. I think it's in the few thousands of dollars, but it's certainly not crazy compared to some other technology in dentistry. But it's easy to use with iTero, and as far as I know, a lot of the other printers are fine as well. There's no issue from printing from them. Rebecca says, great job. Thank you, Rebecca. Okay. Magda, how did you incorporate DSD? Was it already in the office or with the iTero? So I didn't really get into explaining a lot about what digital smile design is. Maybe some of you have already heard about it, but digital smile design, no, it was something that I was trained to become a DSD master, and then I co-branded with Digital Smile Design to have a Digital Smile Design clinic, and that had nothing to do with iTero. They're not related. They're very easy to work with each other, but there's no kind of affiliation or any reason to choose iTero because of DSD. But if for any of you who may not know, again, we are I do a podcast. One of my podcasts is on my digital smile design journey. So if you'd like to check that out on my Truth with Dentistry podcast, then I would love for you to hear that. Okay. Flowable 15 minutes per teeth. So that has taken a few tries to get it that fast, but on average, my resins that I do are usually, when I'm doing just the flowable indirect method, it's about 15 to 20 minutes per tooth. Out of curiosity, how many iTero machines? Yeah, so I have 4 iTero machines, and 2 are 5Ds. One is an Element 2 and one is an Element 1. I've always just got the next scan or up. How do you allow patients to decline the scan? Well, of course, we've always done dentistry without the scan. It's sometimes I will do it complimentary if I really feel like it's valuable, or if I we do prepare patients before they come in as a new patient that they're going to receive, a certain amount of things that we're going to do. We kind of prepare them, and they know that that's going to be one of the things. So they're usually prepared to pay for that. Like I said, because of my marketing, a lot of my patients are very, want to pay for things. They are, they know it's a digital technology clinic, so they are very happy to receive that type of scan. And it's just the way the hygienist presents it, to be perfectly honest. Okay, so Travis, did you lose any employees trying to scan a more traditional assistant to transition to your workflow? To be perfectly honest, yes, there are certain people, of course, we're all different, and sometimes it's either the way that we were trying to implement it too fast, we weren't doing enough training, and that's why I wanted to stress that it's important to do training. We've had just some people just, it's like, oh, it's a lot. My clinic is definitely not, your average clinic, and my team members are more trained in this type of thing. But generally, a lot of, and I've had most everybody very excited to use the scanner, and they're excited to get faster at it. So it's usually not been an issue, but some people do get overwhelmed with the technology. What does the iTero Element system cost? I don't have current costing. Your Invisalign territory manager or your Invisalign iTero Element manager would be able to answer that gladly. Thank you for this amazing webinar. Okay, wow, thank you. Zaid, any tips or ideas on how to deliver the kind of great services you do through social media, mainly Instagram? I would say my biggest tip for Instagram is having a business account and having a bio. Like in your bio, you should have a link to your consultation. So they should be able to make a consult with you through your Instagram, through your bio. Sharon, how accurate would you say the scans are? The scans are probably almost too accurate. Sometimes they're so accurate that things fit extremely well. And I guess I mainly mean that for something like, it would be a Brux guard where you have the acrylic, really kind of sinking in around the areas. So sometimes I have to relieve things. So you want to ask maybe your lab to just give you a little bit of relief. But no, I've never, like occlusal wise, all my crowns, there's no adjustments whatsoever. How much time do you allow for your hygiene recare appointments? Yes, so you know what? The iTero does not slow down the hygiene appointment, but I like to think of my new patient exam or my hygiene appointment as, it's a rapport building, it's a relationship building appointment. So I don't skimp out on the amount of time. I give an hour for like a regular routine recare, an hour and 10 minutes, and I'll give up to 90 minutes for a new patient experience. Do you use DST for your flowable veneers? Yes, I did not say that outright, but I definitely use the DST direct technique for my flowable. And thank you very much. Wow, thank you. Does insurance pay for the scan? Not that I'm aware of. There's nothing, no. And again, we keep it very low cost, so we usually have no one not wanting to take it. Do you still take bite wings? Oh yes, of course. We still take bite wings, and we alternate now. If we're doing it every 6 months, we'll alternate. But there is, a lot of evidence coming out that we're probably going to be able to, as far as I know, be able to be confident in what we're seeing in the NERI. So there's some research on that I don't want to totally say right now, but it's amazing. Chili's, oh, thank you. She says, which flowable do you use for the flowable technique? I will post that in my Instagram tomorrow. I'm going to post my three top flowable materials that I use for my flowable technique. So stay tuned for that. I will not let you down. That's a great question. Thank you, Joyce. Thank you, Tatiana. Thank you. Can you do time lapse on iTero if you have multiple scans? Sorry, just say that again. Can you only do time lapse on iTero if you have multiple scans from different points of time? Yeah. So you have to have multiple points of time. You just only need 2, to be honest. But sometimes we'll do it like we can take it from any 2 points. So you can do any 2 points in time. It's so amazing. It's amazing. Travis, has Invisalign been a heavy reason in deciding to choosing iTero scanner? It certainly was the initial main reason, although I was a I had owned the Cadent original. Before iTero was owned by Invisalign, I had a Cadent scanner. So I originally had that. Then I went and did the Invisalign over 10 years ago. I did Invisalign course. Started realizing, oh my gosh, it's going to be good for that. This is all before the tools came along. So, but I have owned and experienced other scanners too. So I want to say that one of my biggest gratitude towards iTero is that when I have a problem, if there's any patient in the chair and we're doing restorative, I have support online immediately. There's never been an issue. We always have a technician to help us immediately, and the patient stays frozen and there's no issue that way. So that's been a huge game changer, and I should have mentioned that in the lecture. So thank you for bringing that up. Is it difficult to learn? I'm a new grad and just accepted with a job in an office that does regular scans. Oh my gosh, it's so easy, especially if you're young. I can tell you can't be too old if you just graduated. So you're gonna have no problem with that. It's so easy. Your first scan may take you 10 minutes and then you'll get it down to 2 or 3 minutes. So thank you. Do you give the scan sleeves to the patient? No, I have never thought to do that, but interesting question. Brian, love universal flow, not challenging with 15 minutes, but technique, but scan print. Just trying to read the questions. Scan design, print stent, etch, bond, inject, or load stent. Yes, I believe so. I like that. I know where you're going with that. You asked a question before, so we'll have to post some things about that because it's a really great thing. So if you want to reach out to me on Instagram, I would love to chat with you more about that. We're nearly digital except for treatment planning for complex treatment, and we're still writing on paper for that. To use software and app when charting new treatment. We use Dentrix. I believe that I'm answering the question correctly. Yes, so when I built this new practice in 2015, I went completely digital with my charting and all that at that time. How far apart do these points in time have to be? Oh no, they don't have to be any, they can be a week apart, but of course you're not going to see a big change at that point. You might do it a week apart if you did a cleaning. If they came in with a lot of tartar and then they came back like the next week or a few weeks later for another check and you wanted to show them how much more the tissues had improved. Sometimes my hygienists have done that where they've shown like how the tissue color is a lot better. So it can be very close points in time. How much have you saved from not taking impressions? I would love to put a price on that. I can't answer that, of course, but I can tell you how much time and how much enjoyment, and I never hear the wheel grinding in the lab. So it's certainly been great that way. Do you face any patients who do refuse to use DSD? Refuse to do his DSD. Well, I mean, that question, I mean, they pay for DSD. It's something that's part of what we're going to be performing. So they're clearly committed to doing something more major if they're doing DSD. So I think hopefully that answers that question. Okay, that is all for the questions, it looks like. I'm not sure if I've answered everyone's. I hope, and I really, again, thank you so much for allowing me the privilege to speak to you tonight. And I hope we'll get to meet at some point, and we all get to be back together someday.